to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic and sensational week. The weather's starting to turn cooler here in Australia, and it's not my favourite time of the year as we head to winter, but I suppose it can't always be summer. So wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours, I hope you've been enjoying your week. It's been, a difficult week with all the turbulence that's going on in Ukraine. Look, my heart goes out to all those people, and you just stop and look at the footage on the TV in absolute horror that, human beings can do this to other human beings. And, the bigger tragedy is we're losing little children. And I think this is just disgusting and terrible. And let's hope it stops soon. So let's keep them all in our prayers, and let's hope for a peaceful resolution like today would be absolutely marvellous. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is the Six of Swords. Now, Six of Swords is a card that sort of indicates boat or over water travel. Now, many of us have been restricted since COVID that we haven't been able to go anywhere other than maybe cross the river on a ferry. But, now is the time I think people are able to get out and travel a little bit more than what they have been able to do. So this is the card of travel. So, yes, a lot of us will travel over water or maybe going in a boat or near water or something like that. But the secondary meaning of this card, if you're not travelling, is turning your boat out of troubled water into calmer times, into much calmer waters. So I think that's probably more apt for most of us, that we're finally starting to see that we're turning the corner. We're taking our lives out of such turbulence that we've been experiencing in the last 2 years with COVID. And hopefully we're starting to see some resolutions. We're starting to see some changes that are coming up in life, that we can start to see our way forward. And it's been a very, very long road with COVID. And the interesting part about it is around the world, we're all starting to talk as if the pandemic's over. But in reality, the pandemic is just entering probably its most critical phase. So we all have to have something that I think we can hang on to, where we feel like we're in control and we are turning our boat out of troubled waters, which would be nice to believe that would be hopefully over soon too. But it's just it's a collective thing. I mean, it'll burn itself out, I suppose, when it does, like the Spanish flu did 100 years ago, where we still live today with the flu. And it is still deadly, but it's not as deadly as it once was. So let's hope we can get COVID to the same thing. So I'm really excited to say we've got the start of the brand new astrological year. The sun's finally moved into Aries, and if you can't tell, I'm not an Aries, but I'm a fire sign. I absolutely love the fire sign times of the year. It always gives me so much more energy. But for the rest of everybody else, it's a time when astrologically it's the new year started. It started yesterday. And it's a time of positive renewal, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it means it's everything that's coming up for a first. It's like the happy new year of the astrological year. We've got to start to celebrate. We've got to start to look in a positive sort of way. It's a time when you can have a little bit of time to yourself. It's a time when you can be a little bit self-centered, a little bit self-absorbed, and really put yourself in the me first category. And we all need to do that regardless of our star sign, because it's the time that we've got to get our backside into gear and say, what do I need to achieve? What can I do to improve my life? How am I going to go about it? And it's all about I. It is also the time where we need to be sort of very aware that even though we're in this enthusiastic, me first sort of mode, that we don't trample on other people, that other people have a right to feel exactly the same way and be chasing their own dreams and their own rainbows. So don't forget that as we move through the Aries time of the year. We also have Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, or where we need to heal ourselves, is interestingly enough sitting in Aries at the moment too. So this does affect each and every one of us, no matter what our star sign is. It's asking us to look inside ourselves and heal ourselves first. Look at the things, the grievances or the things that might be limiting us in our lives. Are we feeling negative? Have we not got enough confidence in ourselves? Or are we just plain worn out and tired? Are we just sort of looking for that extra oomph, with a little bit of extra energy, which can come from the sun? But it may also be time that we start to look at resolving any old past grievances or things that we've carried around like baggage. It's time now to set them free. Not always can we make up with people that we've had a disagreement with. Sometimes the answer is that there is no answers, and you turn your back and you walk away and you try and process the emotional ramifications that go with it. As long as it doesn't stay buried deep in your soul, that you do actually deal with it and you do let it go and you move on, then that may very well be the right answer for you. For other people, it might be time to reach out and reconnect with people, particularly family members or people that we were close to. If there's been a disagreement, maybe now's the time to mend those bridges and, get everybody back on an even keel. Maybe relationships will never be the way that they were, but maybe we can find a new normal in a situation like that. I'm not saying that one size fits all. I'm saying there's solutions for every situation, and that's what you need to explore, so that we make sure that we're not putting damage into our soul by sort of carrying around a lot of negative or unwanted energy, which is destructive and can cause illness in the body. And that's the last thing that we want to be carrying around and creating for us. We have enough things as we get older, as the body starts to wear out and sort of says to you, you can't do things you did in your 20s when you're 50, you're not meant to, and we have to adjust to that, but we don't need to add extra stuff to it. We also have Jupiter, the planet of opportunity and expansion and luck, is conjunct or holding hands with Mercury, and Mercury is also conjunct or holding hands with Neptune in Pisces. Now, this is an interesting configuration because Jupiter is the planet of illusion, not the illusion and delusion. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, opportunity. It's where we sort of get the feeling that we can expand our lives out. Sometimes we get some lucky breaks during the time that Jupiter's going through our sign. Jupiter goes through a sign once every 12 months. It changes zodiac energy every 12 months. So it takes 12 years before Jupiter comes back around to be in your sign. So it's in the sign of Pisces at the moment. Jupiter is said to co-rule Pisces. In the olden days of astrology, Jupiter was the ruling planet of Pisces before Neptune was assigned to the energy of Pisces. So Jupiter feels really comfortable here. So holding hands with Mercury means that we have the opportunity to sort of go and discuss things. If, you need to sort of get a project off the ground and you've been waiting for that perfect time of communication, now is it, because you've got Jupiter on your side, the lucky planet. You've also got people have got their listening ears on. They're looking for new projects possibly, and they're prepared to listen to something that may not be sitting in the normal little square that we tend to think of, that we can only do things inside a certain parameter. And the fact that we also have Neptune here. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion and delusion, but Neptune is also the planet of creativity. And I would sort of like to sort of add the weight here that Neptune here with the conjunction or the holding hands of these other two planets really gives this a very creative, very mystical sort of flavour, that we can sort of paint pictures with words, that if you've got to go in and do a presentation, or you're going into the bank trying to get a loan, make sure you go really well prepared, that you've got some visuals, that you're really enthusiastic and you're really selling the whole package of how exciting that this could be. And, all I'm short is a little bit of folding money to sort of get it going. So it is the time of anything that you've got that you want to start or you've been thinking about starting. And for many people, that's something simple. It might be something little that you want to change in your life, but you've been waiting for that right opportunity, or you've been waiting for that right opportunity to have a conversation with a family member because the situation is delicate or tricky. Well, now is that perfect time. So don't waste this creative energy while it's sitting in Pisces. Embrace it, work with it. For a lot of other people, they're just finding that they're really sort of into their music or the things that give them pleasure more at the moment. It's sort of really uplifting for the soul. Lots of people have been inboxing me and saying, I've been getting messages, I've been watching this on Netflix or that, or in a movie or on a song, and what does this mean? It just means that you're really sort of opening yourself up psychically and listening to the messages and the symbols and the symbology that comes your way. There's no one size fits all. We all get different messages in different ways. Some people get them in, they might see the photographs moved on the cupboard in the hallway, and other people say, I see butterflies, or I get feathers, or, it's a song on the radio. It doesn't matter. It's all individual. It's what works for you. But be aware the spirits are very close at the moment and trying to send through some messages to each and every one of us. We don't always need to contact a psychic. If we still our minds, just for a little bit a day, we'll find that we start to get messages in our own right. We still have Pluto sitting in Capricorn, still trying to transform everything. Pluto will be there till 2024. And it's interesting as the world's going into this sort of semi-financial crisis again because of what's happening in Ukraine and coming out of COVID and trying to revamp economies and everything after being in a worldwide pandemic and shortages and supply chains and everything like that. It's interesting because when Pluto first went into Capricorn, before he went in there seriously, when he sort of dipped his toe in there back in 2008, was when we had the last global financial crisis. And I'm saying it's interesting because Pluto is now coming close to the end of his reign in Capricorn in 2022, which is about 18 to 20 months away. So he's on the tail end here. And we're looking at the world going into financial difficulties again for various reasons. One is the Ukraine situation and the oil prices going out of control. But the other is the supply chains, and because the world has been closed off to international travel and international borders, and there's been so many different restrictions over the last couple of years, the world hasn't had a chance to grapple with all this and get to find what's the new level playing field or the new normal. And inflation's starting to grow around the world. And I'm not an economist by any means, but I'm just, I listen to a bit of international news and you pick up these things. And it dawned on me then that it's interesting that here's Pluto in his final stages and we're almost back in a similar situation. Not definitely back there, but, heading in a similar situation as what we did in 2008. So I think we just need to be a little bit more aware, a little bit more careful. Hopefully we've all got our own personal finances a little bit more in control. And we've had a couple of years to do that with COVID, that we had time on our hands that we could look at our personal budgeting situation. So maybe we can personally avoid some of these things. Finally, I want to talk about Mars is conjunct Venus in Aquarius. Now, Mars is the planet of action. Yes, it is considered the planet of war. If we're looking at that peculiar situation that's going on in Ukraine with, Russia being such a dominant bully, the only positive I can take out of this is Mars sitting in Aquarius says we need to think outside the square. We need to look for a different solution. So is a different solution by trying to get the two leaders together at a table and thrash out their differences? Maybe that's the solution we're looking for. Or is there going to be a solution that's going to come literally out of nowhere, one of those light bulb moments? And I don't mean the start of World War III. I don't call that a solution. That's an absolute last resort. If Russia doesn't start to back off and stop, demolishing cities in Ukraine, then the world will probably have to look at stepping in if the war escalates. But let's hope for a more positive outcome, that maybe we can get some common sense happening around a table of talks, that maybe we can come to some solutions, some answers here before too long. But anyway, Mars is holding hands or conjunct Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. So how does this sit comfortably with the planet of war and destruction and drive and determination? Well, it can, because I think if we can find something that they both love and both want to sit down and negotiate on, and I'm sure both leaders really love their own countries and their own population and want to look after the best interests of their own citizens and the people that occupy those countries. So let's hope maybe that might be the thread here, that might be the think outside the square moment, that we get a resolution to this war and it comes to an end very, very quickly. All I can do is hope. We can only hope for this because, there's so many people that are doing it tough at the moment, and there doesn't need to be. There's enough resources in the world to make the world go round, that we don't have to try and invade another country just to be a dominant bully. And that's all Russia's being, in my opinion, is a dominant bully. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave the astrology section for this week. We're going to talk with our first caller, is Suzanne in Lytton in Bedfordshire in England. Are you there, Suzanne? Oh, Susan, I beg your pardon.
Yes, I am.
You have a question I can work with?
Yes, I am here.
You have a question I can work with, please, Susan, for you?
Yeah. Will I ever meet someone that is my soulmate?
That's a really good question, Susan, and it's a question that is probably one of the most popular questions I get asked. And I say it's interesting because we aren't designed to walk around in ones. I mean, the world is a place where everything that we see and everything that's promoted is always about the happy couple or people being in pairs. And if you're that person that's not in a pair, you feel uncomfortable. You feel like the square peg trying to go into the round hole. So what they're showing me here, Susan, is interesting because your spirit guides are showing me that you've spent a lengthy period of time on your own, even when you were in previous relationship, that you still felt isolated, you still felt alone. Now, that's no criticism of you, Susan. It's just the fact that that was the way that it was meant to be. I'm going to say to you, I think that you've really now worked out what you really want in a relationship, what you would accept and what is not negotiable. And we're halfway there. I do feel that there's someone new coming into your life. I feel that there's someone crossing your path first that's from your past. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be somebody that you had a previous relationship with. It could be somebody that was a friend that you went to school with or someone you worked with, somebody you knew in your past is going to cross your path again. I'm going to say possibly more to do with social media than it is with the physical stuff, because we're all still sort of watching where we go and what we do in this COVID new world. But I feel don't get too bogged down on this. If somebody reaches out to you on social media and says, hey, how you going? Haven't seen you since school, be very flattered, but be very cautious about that. I only want to use that as a marker in time. It's not the person that you're meant to reconnect with and live the happily ever after. It's sort of like that's happening first. And it's sort of like right behind that, I feel you're going to meet someone who's got dark hair, he's got beautiful brown eyes, he's got a cheeky smile. A lot of people would look at him and say, oh, I wish he'd grow up. I'm not going to say that. I think he's actually very strong and very grown up. I think it's just nice to see somebody that's got a playful sort of personality and a playful energy that can sort of, you know, have something positive to say in a world at the moment where everybody's so serious. It's like a breath of fresh air. From the time that the two of you meet, and you will meet through friends or going to a friend's gathering, you know, like going to a birthday party or something like that. It's not a very big event, I'm going to say. It seems to be a small event, and it is something that I think is going to be coming up in the summer months for you guys because it's an outdoor event. I can't imagine you're sort of going to too many outdoor events in the middle of winter in the UK. It'd be too cold. So this is sort of as the weather's warming up. I'm feeling possibly even potentially in the next month to 6 weeks that you're going to meet this person, but I feel that there's going to be an instant connection there. It's a good connection. The two of you will start dating, and I feel before too long you both realise that this is the person you want to spend the rest of your lives with. The only little drawback I can see is wherever you live, Susan, he lives a couple of hours drive away. So I know in the UK that's a long distance, but it's sort of like that's not fixed in concrete either. It's sort of that just happens to be where he's residing at the moment. He's got a job that he could pick up that's portable, that he could work from any location. So don't look at that as a negative. I feel he's going to move closer to you. He's just been in this location because that's where he was and that's where he made his life, but not particularly attached to it in any way. So I feel really excited for you, Susan, that there is love coming and it's really, really beautiful. So I hope that's helped you.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. We're going to talk now with Corey in Pasadena in California. Are you there, Corey?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Corey?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you have a question you'd like me to answer for you?
Yes. So I have been in non-communication with my ST for 2 years, and yesterday I received a call from a number I didn't recognize, and when I looked up the number, it's one of his friends, and I wanted to know if that was him calling or if it was his friend.
No, I think your first gut feeling was right. It was him calling.
Okay, and why isn't he calling me from his phone?
So I don't think he believed you would pick up. I mean, to me, it seems silly. I mean, I don't think he called you from his cell phone because he believed that if you saw the number and you recognised it, that you wouldn't answer the call. And that may be true. Maybe you mightn't have answered the call. But the thing is, to be sort of sneaky about something and take someone else's phone and ring you on a number that you don't recognise, that to me is not being upfront and truthful. You know what I mean? Like I'm a little bit sceptical about that. Look, I mean, it's always difficult when exes want to get in contact with us because most of us don't want to know them, and I understand that. But I didn't feel you two had that sort of such animosity that you wouldn't have taken a call.
Oh, I would have taken the call. Definitely would have. I mean, I would have been angry about it. Angry
I'm
with
not saying
him.
you would have been happy to hear from him, but I didn't feel that you wouldn't have answered the call. So I don't understand why he's going to these lengths. I mean, if he's got something important to say, then say it. You know, don't go around, don't beat around the bush. I don't like people being dishonest. You know, if you didn't take the call, if you knew his number and you didn't take the call and then he turned around and used someone else's phone, well, you'd say, okay, fair enough. I didn't take his call because I didn't want to talk to him. He's being resourceful, but this is not being resourceful. The thing is, I don't know that it's of anything of great significance or any great importance at why he needed to talk to you.
Okay. So I texted him today and asked him if he called me, and then I said, you know, to grow some, and if he wants to speak to me, then not have other people call me, and he didn't respond. He blocked me right after that.
Right, yeah, because you hit it right on the head. So you see what I mean? Your first impression or your first gut feeling was it was him, not the friend, and you were certainly very right on that score. And if you hadn't been right, he would have turned around and said something to the effect of, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you doing? Why are you sending me a message like this? So, you know, he actually validated that he was the one that did it.
Okay. That makes sense. So
yeah, and I don't think he's going to do it again. I mean, I don't know whether he, you know, was just having a melancholy moment and thought he'd reach out. But even if he was, there's no reason to do it in that way anyway. I just think you're better off without him. And look, if he's thrown a tantrum and blocked you, great. Well, then you don't. That's fine. Move on. Because, you know, how childish can you be? I mean, you know, there's more important issues in the world than this. You know, if that's the only thing he's got in his head, well, that's his problem, isn't it? It's interesting, though, because exes sort of sometimes do these strange things after many, many years. It's like they reach out and think you're going to be pleased to hear from them.
Yeah.
As if you're pining over them and you're not.
Well, I was for a year and a half, and lately I've been letting go. So.
Oh, that would make sense then. He's feeling that energy that you're not there anymore. So he's sort of got in a panic on a soul level and decided he better reach out to you. Well, then he should have reached out through his own telephone, not someone else's.
Yeah, correct. I mean, but I guess you're right. He did validate by blocking me right after I sent him that message.
Yeah, well, if it had been the situation had been reversed and you'd use your girlfriend's phone number to text him or ring him and he turned around and sent you a message like that, you'd turn around and say, well, if it wasn't you, you'd turn around and say, what's your problem? I don't even know where you are. Or, you know, you would deny the fact that you did it if you didn't do it. So if you turned around and blocked him, you've done it out of guilt, you know, because it's truthful. So he's just very silly. Look, I don't know that his world's really happy and positive at the moment. I think he's going through a number of trials and tribulations, and I think there's been either a change of job or not enough work or something like that, and I think he's had too much time on his hands. But does it matter? It's not your responsibility to fix his world, and you don't want to go back into a world like that anyway. You know, there's a reason why the two of you broke up, and I don't think he's progressed or grown in that time, so you certainly don't wish to go backwards, Corey. Not at all.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay,
sweetie. So just keep strong and just keep listening to your own gut feeling because it's not wrong. You're really switched on at the moment, and there's lots of wonderful things that are coming towards you over the summer months. So just be prepared and be ready and enjoy your life, sweetheart.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. That was Corey we were speaking with there in Pasadena in California. There's many unusual things happening at the moment. People from our past are reaching out for whatever reason, like in Corey's case, her ex, that, you know, we don't understand sometimes the complexities of people and why all of a sudden they feel this sudden urge to reach out and sort of try and rekindle something that's been over for a long time. And I think sometimes it's just the final letting go process. It's like, I'll give it one last dashed hope to see whether or not I can resolve this or sort this out or see what's going on in their lives. But 9 times out of 10, the person that they're making contact with has no idea why the ex has contacted them or the person from the past has contacted them. They certainly weren't on their mind. And they're usually in a little bit of a state of shock when the phone call comes through or the message comes through that, what in the hell are you contacting me for? Why now? You know, so it's always sort of interesting, I think, when those sort of things happen, is react how you're going to react. Just be natural about it. Whatever your natural reaction is, if you hang up on them, so be it. That's the way it's meant to be. Don't sort of lose any sleep over it. Don't give it any more airtime. It's their issue, not yours. If you've moved on and you feel comfortable that you've made a new life for yourself and you don't want them in your life, you don't need to even listen to what they've got to say if you don't feel that it's in your best interest. You know, sometimes it's better to be sort of very firm and say, I don't know why you're calling me. I have nothing to say to you. Thanks for your call. Goodbye. And, you know, you don't need to be rude about it, but you don't need to enter into their mystery of things that they need to sort out. They're big enough. They could sort it out themselves. So, you know, be aware that, you know, there will be some interesting conversations in this next 7 days. As I spoke about before, if you've got something important you want to resolve, now's the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean to dig up your ex out of your phone book and sort of contact everybody from the past. It's only if there's pressing issues that you feel that need to be sorted out, it's time to do so. It's, you know, it's always an interesting time as we move through the astrological year, and, you know, we are still in such uncertain times with everything that's going on around the world. So we do really need to be kind to each other, and we really do need to try and put a smile on our face and try and make some sense out of what seems sometimes a very confusing world. So this week I want to leave you with a song that I came across yesterday by sheer and utter accident, and I've never heard this version before. It's a very, very famous song. It was made famous by Bette Midler, called The Wind Beneath My Wings. But I heard a version yesterday of my ultimate favourite singer besides David Cassidy is John Farnham here in Australia. And he recorded this. I was saying this at a grand final here in 1986 in Australia, and it was one of the most breathtaking versions I've ever heard of this song. So if you get a chance, Google it, YouTube it, listen to it. It's a really beautiful rendition of Wind Beneath My Wings. And he actually turned the song down, and it was then offered to Bette Midler. So I thought that was an interesting piece of trivia. So until next week, bye for now. Have a great week.